Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar, Strategies for Improving Quality of Life for Individuals Living with Dementia, presented by Home Instead and hosted by the American Society on Aging. Before we get started, I'd like to share a few quick notes to help you get the most out of today's session. First, you'll find the continuing education types available for each session listed right on the webinar page. Please take a moment to review those details carefully, and if your accrediting board isn't listed, we recommend checking with them directly to confirm whether one of the available CE types will be accepted. After today's webinar, you can apply for your certificate by clicking the tab above the presentation screen. Be sure to select your certificate type or board, and if you don't have a license number, you can simply enter NA. If you'd like step-by-step instructions, you can find them under the How to Claim Credit tab. During today's webinar, you'll also see periodic engagement checkpoints. Make sure your pop-up blocker is turned off so you can respond when prompted. Instructions for disabling pop-ups are available under the Reminders tab. And if you experience any technical issues, the first thing to try is refreshing your browser. If that doesn't work, just click the Help tab for support. You can also download today's presentation slides from the Materials tab, and don't worry, a recording will be available in your classroom within 48 hours. And finally, we'd love to hear from you. Use the Q&A tab to submit your questions at any time. We'll do our best to get to as many as possible during the Q&A portion at the end. And now I'd like to introduce today's moderator, Dr. Lakeland Eichenberger. Dr. Eichenberger is a gerontologist and caregiving advocate with Home Instead, the world's largest provider of home care. She has become a national and international voice on aging and caregiving and works to educate families, professionals, and communities about the unique challenges older adults face and the resources available to support them. She holds a doctorate in gerontology from the University of Nebraska and is a trusted resource for national media on issues affecting older adults. Lakeland, I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce today's presenters.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Hi, everyone. It is so good to be with you today. Thank you so much for joining us on this topic of supporting individuals living with dementia. And I am delighted to have a number of I now call them friends, because once you meet them and get connected to this organization, you instantly just feel this kinship with them. They're from Lorenzo's House. And so we have three lovely individuals with us. You see on the screen Diana's picture. She is the founding executive director. She's not able to join us today, but in her place, we have Grania McKittrick. She is their global outreach lead. We also have Patty LaFleur, their program lead, and Stephanie Fitzgerald, their impact and operations lead. Again, all from Lorenzo's House. It's a wonderful organization that is supporting families that are impacted by young onset dementia and brain change. And so I'm going to let them share in the latter half of the presentation all about their organization. And I can't wait for you to just learn about them and be moved like I was the very first time I heard about the fantastic work they're doing. But we have a lot to cover today. And again, I'm so grateful that you're joining us. So if we look at our objectives, we're going to start with the basics of dementia and just touch on the various types, because we know that the prevalence of this disease is on the rise. So just to ground us all, we'll just do a quick review. I'm also going to talk about a person-centered approach to care and support. And you probably have heard of this term person-centered care before. So we're going to just talk about what it means specifically in the realm of care and support for those living with dementia. We're going to talk about some of the common dementia-related behaviors and symptoms and tips to address them. And then lastly, we're discovering strategies and resources for improving quality of life. And Lorenzo's House is one of those exceptionally important resources. So I'm going to turn it over to them and let them share again for the second half of our presentation. So we have lots to cover. Let's dive in. So when we hear the term dementia, I just did a presentation yesterday, and one of the questions was, what's the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's? I hear them used interchangeably, and so it can be a little confusing, but dementia is a kind of overarching umbrella term. That's how I like to describe it, that it really is a group of symptoms that are severe enough to impact daily life, and they impact changes in the brain that are occurring. So there are various types of dementia, and Alzheimer's disease is the most common. And so that's why you're probably hearing about it most often. And so Alzheimer's disease is a type of dementia. And some of the hallmark symptoms are that memory loss, forgetfulness. We sometimes see apathy, depression, impaired judgment, that disorientation or confusion. You can also sometimes see changes in personality or in their communication skills. So difficulty speaking, swallowing, walking. And usually, these are things that these symptoms will present in an individual, and they might be different from person to person. One person might not have all these things listed here on the screen, and that's the same with, all types of dementia. But if we're seeing these types of symptoms presenting, we want to encourage that individual to seek diagnosis, because early diagnosis of any form of dementia is going to help the individual and their family connect sooner to resources. And also in the Alzheimer's space, we're starting to see some treatments specifically for the kind of early stages of the disease. And so we want to make sure that folks have the opportunity to get those treatments. And that's why we want to encourage that early diagnosis. So Alzheimer's disease is, again, the most common. Vascular disease has a lot of overlapping symptoms with dementia, but really, this type of dementia is damage caused to the brain because there's a lack of blood flow to various parts of the brain, a lot of times associated with a health incident like a stroke. And so you might see the impact of this type of dementia after that sort of health event, or those kind of mini strokes, those TIAs over time. We have Lewy body dementia. In this type of dementia, a couple of the symptoms that vary are sometimes more of that physical tremor, stiffness, and rigidity in the person's limbs and their hands. Visual hallucinations, that is a kind of a hallmark symptom that is very prevalent in this type of dementia. And then sometimes excessive daytime sleepiness. And so Lewy body dementia, a lot of times we see that paired with Parkinson's disease. And so again, another type of dementia. There's over 100 different types of dementia, so I definitely don't have time to get to them all today. And you can have several forms of dementia at the same time. So a common one might be Alzheimer's disease plus vascular dementia. So it's important to, again, seek out the diagnosis to kind of try to narrow down what type of dementia the individual has, because that will sometimes tailor the treatment and the support that that individual needs. And then lastly, frontal temporal dementia. That's getting a lot of attention right now because Bruce Willis is facing this type of dementia, and his family is being very vocal and sharing their experience. And so this type of dementia, we see a lot of changes in personality and in their behavior and more difficulty with language. So again, when these symptoms are starting to present, a lot of times families are probably thinking to themselves, okay, is this concerning enough that we need to bring it up with our healthcare provider, or should we just kind of see how it plays out? And I always encourage families to bring it up with your healthcare provider. I think we all should be talking about our brain health at every age with our healthcare provider, because our brain is a vital organ to our bodies. So again, depending on the type of dementia, the individual might have different symptoms, but each person living with dementia, kind of the term in our world is, if you've met one person living with dementia, you've met one person, because it impacts each person uniquely. But some of those early signs and symptoms, we've already kind of talked through some of these already. Some of that memory loss that's disrupting daily life. I know sometimes I get asked, well, what's normal memory loss in aging versus abnormal? And some slight forgetfulness as we get older might not be interrupting, our daily life. But when it does get to a point where it is impacting us on a day-to-day basis, that is a sign that we need to seek some support from a healthcare provider. We need to communicate. And what can be helpful is to start to track patterns. So sometimes if you see some of these signs and symptoms in a loved one and it happens seemingly overnight, it might not be a form of dementia. It might instead be something like a urinary tract infection. But if you're seeing kind of patterns over time, it could be these early signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's disease or another type of dementia. So again, being aware of these signs and symptoms is important. And the Alzheimer's Association has these on their website. So it can be helpful to educate family members on these, again, so that they can hopefully capture in the early stage of the disease process for dementia. And with each type of dementia, we generally see about 3 stages. Sometimes you'll see 5 stages. For simplicity's sake, I like to talk about it in early, middle, and late stage. And in early stages of dementia, often the person is still fairly independent. They might need extra reminders, might need help with some word recall, maybe starting to need a little support with their money management, maybe medication management, planning. Some in the early stage are still driving. Others might start to have impacts to their ability to drive themselves. And then as they progress through into the middle stage, that's where we start to see more changes in their symptoms and behaviors related to the dementia. They start to need more support in their daily care needs, and they might start to have more difficulties with communication. And then in the late stage of dementia, again, we know this is a progressive disease. We see often, decline in their physical health. They might start to have difficulties with eating and swallowing. And at that point, often their communication becomes more limited. And so that's why it can be helpful sometimes to know the kind of stages. But what is sometimes hard for families to wrap their minds around is we never know how long someone's going to live with dementia. I've met family members who have lived for 5 years, for 20 years. And so it's really hard to say, how long a person will spend in each of these stages. But we do know that usually a person progresses, and sometimes they might not get their diagnosis until they're in that middle stage, because perhaps the symptoms, maybe the family just has had trouble getting the healthcare provider to make the diagnosis. And so in those instances, it might seem like, wow, they didn't live with dementia for very long. But after the fact, kind of in hindsight, family members say, well, for the last 5 to 10 years, I did notice quite a few of these symptoms. So maybe they have had the disease for longer than the diagnosis is written on the paper. So again, something just to keep in mind. So I think what's also important to remember, and when we're working with families, individuals, that a lot of these dementia-related symptoms and behaviors are a result of brain change. And I love Lorenzo's house uses that term a lot, brain change. You're going to hear them probably talk about that. But it truly is changes in the brain. A person is not doing these things intentionally, and they're just trying to kind of navigate their new normal with these dementia related changes in their brain. And again, these symptoms can vary person to person. Sometimes there can be triggers within their environment that can, make these symptoms and behaviors more prevalent. But often, especially as we move, the person moves into the middle and late stage, they're often trying to express some sort of unmet need or trying to communicate something through maybe these symptoms and behaviors. So sometimes it can be helpful to think of like putting on your detective's hat to try to get to the bottom of, what are they trying to communicate or tell me through their actions. That can sometimes be helpful. But we know when it comes to those common symptoms and behaviors, they're listed here on the screen. We can see sometimes aggression and anger. That can be a really challenging thing to navigate if you're seeing those present in your loved one. We can see anxiety and agitation. Again, they're experiencing changes in the brain. Perhaps they're their surroundings aren't as familiar as they once were. And so just kind of put yourself in their shoes. That would be anxiety provoking for me for sure. Sometimes depression can be a symptom, but again, we want to be tracking these symptoms and communicating with the healthcare provider, because depression might be something that is treatable for that individual. Again, very, very individual experience, but could be treatable. We talked about hallucinations already. It doesn't happen for everyone in every type of dementia, but what's important to remember in those cases is that it's very real to them. Whatever they are thinking or feeling is very, very real to them. Fixation and repetition is very common, asking the same questions or fixating on something. I was just talking with, I did a presentation yesterday, and someone was sharing, the person that they know living with dementia was never a cat person, but all of a sudden is a cat person and is very fixated on cats. And so for some reason now that brings her comfort. And so the family, it wasn't concerning at all. It was just a little perplexing to them as to why now they are a cat person. So again, you might start to see some things that are maybe out of character. Also suspicions and delusions, also sexual expressions. Sometimes people use the term sexual inappropriateness, which I don't like, because again, because of brain change, the person might not know that a gesture or a phrase in a certain situation is inappropriate. So often it's that sexual expression doesn't go away. Even if we have dementia, we have that desire for connection. And so that could be something families are dealing with, which can be really hard. And then not everyone will experience wandering, but in some situations, wandering might occur, which, depending on the situation, could potentially be concerning in terms of their health and safety. So no matter what dementia-related behaviors and symptoms are occurring, taking a person-centered approach is really important, because in order to provide the care and support that the individual needs, we really need to make sure that we're meeting them where they're at, we're getting to know them, and as a professional, it might take us a little more effort to really get to know them, but family caregivers, on the other hand, often know them very, very well. And so that is an important element, making sure you know the person, their likes, their dislikes, what brings them comfort, what brings them anxiety. And sometimes, getting to know them involves a little bit of trial and error in, making sure that you're providing them with the best support possible. A lot of times, you also have to step into their reality. Again, especially in times where maybe they're having a hallucination, you don't want to argue. You want to maybe get curious instead and say, oh, interesting, tell me more about that. Also, identifying meaningful engagement for that individual is a big part of person-centered care. Just because someone is living with dementia doesn't mean that they don't want meaning and purpose in their life. So finding things that are fulfilling to them. Maybe they've always worked in a profession. Maybe they were a banker. And so they would find, sorting money or coins to be a meaningful activity. Or perhaps now they've discovered that the arts are very kind of therapeutic for them, and they really enjoy and get a lot of meaning out of that. So tailoring the activity to make sure that it's meaningful to them is really important. Also, that relationship building, getting to know them, that's all part of providing good care for them, making sure that they have the right community of support around them. And then, in the professional kind of realm, continuing to evaluate our care approaches is really important for a successful person-centered care approach, making sure that we are adapting as they are adapting to the changes in their brain, to their environment, and so forth. So some of the approaches that can be really helpful is, seeking to understand that individual. Again, kind of putting on that detective's hat. If there is a dementia-related behavior or symptom, was there something that triggered it? Maybe something in the environment. Maybe it was too overstimulating. There was the TV on, people were chatting in the background, there was music on. Maybe we need to eliminate some of those distractions. Maybe there was an unmet need. They're in maybe a new environment, trying to find the restroom, but don't have the words to say. So they had kind of quote unquote wandering behavior, but they were really just trying to find the restroom. Maybe there's an emotional need. Maybe they're bored. Maybe they don't have enough engagement throughout the day. Maybe they're looking for more social connection. Maybe they have some kind of pent up energies. They need some physical outlet. I mean, how many times have you just kind of been maybe a little anxious and needed to get out for a walk or go for a drive? Making sure that we are giving them the opportunity to do that in a way that supports their goals and helps them live their best life. And again, maybe it is something in that environment that needs to be modified or tweaked to provide a better supportive environment. Some other care approaches we've already talked about, kind of being present in their reality. We know redirection in some situations can be helpful, redirecting them to something that they enjoy. Also offering choice and making sure that they still feel a sense of dignity and independence. That is really important. So often, especially family caregivers can be quick to sometimes jump in and want to just do or help when really the person might still be able to do a lot for themselves. So if we can offer them choices, it gives them that autonomy. Also, sometimes it can be helpful, especially if there is agitation or in situations where they might be thinking that someone took something from them or something happened to them, just apologizing, taking the blame can really be helpful. Avoiding the arguments, I talked about that already. Sometimes simplifying the task can also help the individual continue to do things independently. So, if you're going through your nightly routine, instead of saying, okay, let's brush our teeth, sometimes you have to break it down into smaller steps, and maybe find the toothbrush is step one, and then kind of go from there. So really simplifying the task and making it less overwhelming can be helpful. And sometimes our first approach to do something or to engage in an activity like bathing or showering, you might be met with a no the first time. So sometimes you have to get a little creative and try different approaches or techniques. Maybe you kind of drop the subject and reapproach it in about 5 to 10 minutes in maybe a different way. When we train our care professionals, we use the phrase, try 3 times 3 different ways, because sometimes it just takes a different approach. And over time, whoever's providing the support, the care partner, the professional, you can start to find patterns of things that work, which can be helpful. And then again, engaging in those meaningful activities. So I know that this was a very quick sweeping overview. Before I turn it over to my friends at Lorenzo's house, I do just want to focus also on the caregiver, care partner, because a lot of times when you look at the data around caregiving, those that are supporting individuals living with dementia, they often have higher rates of stress, strain, and burnout. And so I think it's important to make sure that we focus also on those providing the care. Their quality of life matters too. So, for some, like I mentioned, it could be several years that they're providing care. And for some, it could even be decades. So I like to remind caregivers that it's not selfish to kind of seek out self-care. And I know self-care, that term is overused, but really the caregivers needs to take care of themselves so that they can continue to provide the best care and support. Because so often we see caregivers putting their own well-being on the back burner, and they end up with health problems that could prevent them from being able to continue providing care. And that's the last thing we want. And it's okay to ask for help. I think sometimes caregivers feel this need to do everything on their own. But really, it takes a village, it takes a community. And so, again, excited that Lorenzo's house will be sharing more about their community. But when it comes to kind of self-care, just a reminder, it's not a one size fits all. And so it might be different for everyone. And it doesn't have to be these, a weekend away or a vacation or a massage. It could be these little tiny moments throughout your day where you take a minute to listen to your favorite song to recenter yourself, or just take 3 deep breaths, or go for a walk around the block. These little things, whatever works in your day-to-day care, can be so helpful. And I have some ideas here, but again, it really is down to the individual and what their needs are. So again, a quick overview of kind of dementia and strategies to support someone living with dementia. But now the real stars of the show are my friends from Lorenzo's House. So I'm going to pass it over to Patty to share more about their incredible mission and the work they're doing to support families impacted by dementia.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lakeland, for all of this incredible information and for providing Lorenzo's House this opportunity. We are so thankful for you and Home Instead for this opportunity. I am Patty, and I am the programs lead at Lorenzo's House. But more importantly, what brought me to this work is that my beautiful mama, Linda, walked with younger onset dementia. And it wasn't until I found Lorenzo's House as a daughter myself that I felt seen and supported and understood. And so it is just such a gift to walk alongside families every single day, and such a gift to be here together with all of you. That brings us so much hope and light. I am joined today by Stephanie and Grania, and I will let Grania introduce herself quickly before we dive in.
Hi, thank you so much, Lakeland and Patty, for the introduction. My name is Grania McKittrick. I am the Global Outreach Lead at Lorenzo's House, and it is a privilege to be here today. And my role is all about building bridges between families, connecting partners and medical professionals, and raising awareness. Lovely to be here.
Thank you so much, Grania. We're so glad that you're here. And Stephanie, will you introduce yourself briefly as well?
Yes, my name is Stephanie Fitzgerald, and I'm our Impact and Operations Lead here at Lorenzo's House, and it's an honor to be with you all today. We're just so grateful for the work that each and every one of you does for families everywhere. I have the privilege of helping Lorenzo's House grow and build our approach to sustainability so that we can be here for professionals and for families forever. So just grateful to be here, and thank you.
Thank you. It is such a gift to work alongside both of you. Here at Lorenzo's House, we are a virtual nonprofit organization that empowers the sons, daughters, children, and their families affected by younger onset dementia, those showing symptoms before the age of 65. And we do 2 things. We heal in community and provide direct support for families where they build connections and understanding with others who understand. And we advocate for what our young people have spurred us to think about, which is we advocate for dementia justice. Lorenzo's House was founded by Diana Shula Kos when her beautiful husband, Larry, they called him Lorenzo, was diagnosed with younger onset Alzheimer's. Her boys were 9 and 13 when brain change showed up in her home. And something that Diana says that resonates with our families is that younger onset dementia is a diagnosis of the family. It doesn't just impact the person diagnosed or the care partner, it changes family dynamics. There are so many unique challenges for younger families like Diana and mine, and so many others across the globe, including misdiagnosed, undiagnosed, multiple diagnoses. So here at Lorenzo's House, we are a sanctuary of hope and community and light for families everywhere. We serve families across all 50 U.S. states and 25 different countries with a focus currently in the U.S., Canada, and the UK. Now we are going to have a beautiful look into Diana's story, which is a story of so many others. So we have a 14-minute short film that tells Diana's story. It shows her beautiful family and shares a little bit about our programs. After the short film, we'll dive a little deeper into our programs and our advocacy work and leave time for questions at the end. So Victoria, will you cue up the short film? And I just want to name, if the short film doesn't pop up on your browser, please refresh your screen and we will spend about 14 minutes together watching the short film. Thank you. Thank you, Victoria.
The sorrow and the suffering can be so great that I almost can't get out of it when I think about what's happening to my husband. It's like this grief that repeats itself every day. And I know that if I sit in it too long, I might not get up. So I get up and I choose living, and that's what he would want. We got lucky with love. We met the night I moved to Chicago, and today, some 30 years later, we have true love, 2 beautiful and brave sons, a loving little dog we named Desmond Tutu, our little archbishop, and we have what I call this diagnosis of the family.
My dad was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and so since then things kind of changed, with a big change in dynamic, especially being in high school at the time. My brother was in middle school, so it was a big change to kind of go from having him care for us to us caring for him.
He was a really fun guy who would always play with me and my brother, and he was always so kind to everyone around him.
And could walk into a room and become friends with anyone. He was super smart, so I'm told the smartest guy in the room, and just loved talking to people, meeting new people.
My husband is love. He is kind, so kind. He just radiates this kindness. Humble and a listener, you know, the kind of listener that leans in. He's a man of such integrity, affectionate and handsome and such a gentleman. He has this soft ping on his phone, and it pings a couple times a day. It used to ping a couple times a day. And I asked, what is that for? And he said, oh, baby, that's a reminder to forgive, you know, forgive self and others and the world, and just start again. And that's the kind of goodness, you know, my husband brings this world. Sharing deep conversations about all kinds of topics was something we loved. And it seemed like almost overnight we weren't having those conversations anymore. When I think back on the behaviors prior to the diagnosis, which for us showed up, you know, a few years prior, all those behaviors make sense now. The culture in our home changed. This diagnosis can suck the joy out of a home because it brings on these complicated behaviors. And for us, those, you know, first showed up as dad detaching from his sons.
Essentially everything is to be done for him. Eating, making breakfast, making lunch, making dinner, that's all been having to be done for him for years now. But I'd say now, just basic things like putting clothes on, getting into bed, getting out of bed, sitting down in a chair. Pretty much everything needs to be explained to him thoroughly. Every 10 seconds, I'd say, like, that's about his span right now.
I think the biggest thing is just I can't have a conversation with him anymore. Losing that, I think, like, is really a lot, because, like, even though he's there and like he's still talking, I can't comprehend what he's saying. So it's kind of like an extra thing for us. Yeah.
The progression was very aggressive. And as a younger family, we were completely caught off guard. Younger onset cases are a sizable niche.
Over 4 million people worldwide are living with younger onset dementia, with a reported 200% uptick. Yet the stigma is thick and layered. Dementia is not just an older person's condition. Hundreds and thousands of us are here, and we are unseen, misunderstood, undiagnosed, misdiagnosed. We need a place to find each other.
That's why we need to raise awareness about young onset Alzheimer's, because they don't have a place to go. They feel incredibly alone. No one understands. People don't understand them. People don't believe them. So many times we need to write letters of advocacy because their church or their community or their neighborhood needs proof that, hey, they have a cognitive impairment because they're acting differently than we expect.
We typically think of Alzheimer's disease as a disease of older people, and it is. But if the symptoms begin before the age of 65, which is again uncommon for Alzheimer's, typical Alzheimer's disease, that's considered younger onset.
Every family, every person absorbs this news differently. For me, I was in full denial, convinced that we were going to be the first family to beat Alzheimer's. I realized quickly that while there were a few really smart resources for families living with younger onset, they were few and far between. And still there was virtually nothing for our sons. My career has been in urban education. For the past 25 years, I served as co-founder and president of a network of public schools, all on the south side of Chicago. And now life has me on this new path. And I thought maybe I could use my experience to make a difference and fill a care and connection gap in this new space.
His name was Larry, but in our house we called him Lorenzo. And therefore, the concept of Lorenzo's house came up with.
After my first connection with Lorenzo's house, it felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulder, truthfully. I have met so many beautiful people, and they're also navigating this difficult journey with grace, and we just help each other tremendously.
Our tagline at Lorenzo's house is "We bring light." And the idea is that we are shifting the narrative.
Our audacious goal is to unite every daughter, son, and their family affected by younger onset dementia.
We are shifting the narrative. No longer isolated, we are now healing in community, and we are advocating for dementia justice. A world where we are normalizing conversations and dismantling misperceptions, changing the way society thinks and responds to dementia. It's time, and with our daughters and sons as our compass, we can do this. Our virtual model is designed exclusively for the daughters, sons, and their families of younger onset dementia. Our 3 pillar programs include our match, our clubs, and our summit. Our match is a one-on-one care partner to care partner connection with a peer who understands.
My connection with Robin was an instant relief. Someone my age that knew what I was going through without even having to explain my whole story. Our stories were so similar, knowing that I can call or text someone in a moment of celebration, concern, grief, sadness, and happiness, and they'll pick up and just get it without having to give all the extra pieces and information that's needed to truly understand the impact of those situations. It's like nothing I could have ever imagined and that I could ever find. The light in our match is knowing that I'm not alone in this journey.
Our clubs are virtual spaces to find community, share insights, and learn care techniques. We host monthly light clubs for our youth. We host a brunch and a lounge for our care partner spouses. And our Shine On session is a space to navigate loss after a loved one has passed.
After Light Club, I feel calm, relaxed, and ready for the rest of my day. Light Club helps me to think deeply. I listen and share, and it gives me a place where I can discuss my dad's condition and get tips and ideas from other kids that would make life easier. It is a good place. Everyone shares similar experiences, and we can all relate to each other.
When I was 10, I found a light. The Light Club has helped me learn how to show light to my dad and how to cope with all of my stress and emotions.
I think one of the best parts of Light Club was learning from young people at different stages of the journey, and being surprised by things that we're worried and scared about may actually surprise us as being a moment that brings us closer to our loved one. But then also a powerful moment within Light Club was realizing we all have very similar questions that sometimes aren't asked, and this idea that we can come together and try and answer them or figure out what resources there are to answer.
Our annual summit is a worldwide virtual youth event.
designed and led by the daughters and sons of younger onset. It's a space to find community, to learn, to heal, to advocate, and to elevate the collective wisdom of our young people.
Me and my mom were out to lunch one day. I think we brought up this camp idea, and the camp is to bring kids like me and my brother who have a parent with Alzheimer's together and have them connect with one another.
Hi everyone, my name is Jalen and I am honored to be a Lorenzo's House Youth Lead for Lorenzo's Youth Summit. As a daughter to a father living with younger onset dementia, I understand how isolating and complicated things can be and how hard it is to find peers who understand. Our free virtual worldwide event unites the daughters and sons of younger onset dementia. Together, we create a space to heal in community and advocate for dementia justice. We share lived experience and build lifelong connections. We amplify our collective wisdom and create a more informed and empathetic world.
It's a way to give these kids support and a community of other kids also going through the same thing. And so that if they're ever having a hard day, they can reach out to someone in the camp who knows exactly what they're going through and have someone to talk to about it.
What Lorenzo's House is doing is really incredible, and Diana has just made tremendous bounds with this program already.
We are growing faster than we imagined because we are so needed. As a global citizen and justice activist, to know that our work is garnering trust from families and respect from experts in the field across state lines and country borders is incredibly inspiring. There's real movement in dementia at Lorenzo's House, and it's being led by younger families with lived experience. Innovation is happening here.
I am determined to make meaning of all of this. My guy, who is such a gentle, spiritual soul, a man of so much goodness and light, my Lorenzo is now walking so bravely every day. And while his condition is slowly taking him from us, I feel compelled to stand up and to fight back and to respond as boldly as I know how. And maybe we can turn all of this sorrow and this story into something that heals. I've had the privilege of connecting with so many lovely people, and it's when we get connected, I find, and we get to tell pieces of our story that we begin to kind of put ourselves back together a little bit. And we share a bond as care partner families, like warrior-like families really, who are showing up every day with crazy love and crazy strength. And also so much sacrifice and sorrow. And so we have stories to tell, and Lorenzo's House will be a platform to tell our story as a way to heal. So it's time to build. There is a lot of work to do. And I believe that when we build and design and scale, that we need to access the voices of people who are walking the journey. Care partner families, professionals in the field, allies, donors, and friends, please bring light with Lorenzo's House. Stay close. We need you. When I first imagined Lorenzo's House, I wanted to do something for my husband, in honor of him. And now, hopefully, it's going to be for families everywhere.
Hi, thank you so much. And I just want to acknowledge those that may have lost video and let you know that you will have access to the presentation PDF in the materials tab and in their classroom. So just want to name if you lost a video, but for those that were able to see it, I just want to name our short film is a labor of love. It's for every daughter, son, child, spouse, partner, and loved one on a younger onset dementia journey. At Lorenzo's house, we live in this metaphor of light where there can be so much darkness. And to each of you, our allies and experts, we ask that you leverage Diana's beautiful family story and the millions of others that have not yet been told to raise awareness and advocate. Here at Lorenzo's house, we do two things. We heal in community and provide direct service to families, and we advocate for dementia justice. We heal in community through our 3 pillar programs, our match, our clubs, and our summit. Our match is our one-to-one, care-to-care connection of a peer of a similar profile. As you saw in the film, Robin and Janelle are matched because they are of the similar profile. They both have moms and live in a similar area. And until they got connected, they didn't know another person walking a similar journey. Our match can be one phone call or one Zoom call. It can be a series of text messages, or it can be this longer term relationship, bringing families together, sharing meals, going out to dinner, and being with others who truly understand. Our clubs are our virtual support programs, but given our focus on supporting sons, daughters, and children, we call them virtual brave hangouts. We offer a bright brunch for female care partners, a light lounge for male care partners, and we offer light clubs for children as young as 4. We have a 4 to 7-year-old group where we use picture books to talk about brain change, so we can begin to talk about Papa Bear's brain change. We may not be ready to talk about our mom or our dad, but we can begin to have conversations about Papa Bear and how we can show up. We have an 8 to 12-year-old group where we incorporate mindfulness and play and building those connections with peers who understand. We talk about brain change. We complete art projects and think about what that means for us and our family. We have a teens group for those ages 13 to 17, where we are really thinking about how do we tell one friend about our mom's brain change? How do we tell our basketball coach about our dad's brain condition so that they understand and that we have the support that we need? We also spend a lot of time, especially with our teens, really thinking about and dismantling stigma. We know that stigma for young families can be so thick, whether you're at the grocery store, you're at Starbucks, and your mom or dad does something that the world doesn't view as normal. And how can we navigate those moments while empowering ourselves and others in the way that we respond? We have a young adult light club for young adults ages 18 plus, where we're really building on our collective wisdom and sharing tools, strategies, and resources. And we also offer grief spaces called Shine On, because we know that after a person has passed, you are still on this journey. It's just a new chapter. So we offer spaces for children, teens, young adults, and care partners to come together in community and connect. And our last pillar program is our Youth Summit. This takes place every June. This upcoming year, it'll be on June 12th and June 13th. And it brings together young people from across the globe in a youth-led event. Our young people, as young as 8, are co-leading, co-designing, and co-facilitating sessions alongside experts in the field, neurologists, genetic counselors, social workers. They are partnered with a young person and they build out the session because we truly believe in the young wisdom of our young people, their lived experience. They understand this condition so deeply, and they know what other teens or children or young adults want to talk about. So they co-design these sessions. In 2021, we had 21 sons, daughters, and children in a Zoom room together. And this last year at our 5th summit, we had over 250 young people registered worldwide. So it's really this beautiful space to come together in community. In addition, at Lorenzo's house, we listen, and our culture is one of continually positioning ourselves as learners. And we've learned that sons, daughters, and children, like myself, are looking for that support. They're looking for that direct support. And we also have a passion for justice and advocacy. And it's this kind of justice we need to call out. We call it dementia justice. So last year at our 2024 summit, we hosted the first ever Youth Dementia Justice panel, which spurred the creation of the Next Gen YOD movement. And so this year at our summit, we had our friend Jeffin from Canada, and Ela from El Salvador, and Paige, who was in Spain, and Jessica and Lucas from the US, and Isabel from Australia, and Anderline for Kenya, who came together and began this first conversation that spurred the creation of our Next Gen YOD movement, which is an inspiring global advocacy initiative. The vision of Next Gen is to unite like-minded young people, both sons, daughters, children, and passionate allies, because we need allies, and Grania will speak more to that, to raise awareness, dismantle stigma, refine policy, and build a more informed and empathetic world for families affected by younger onset dementia, normalizing conversations on brain change. So I'll hand it over to Grania, who will talk a little bit more about allies and where Next Gen fits in.
Thank you, Patty. You're such an inspiration. Every time I listen to you, I feel like I'm learning all about Next Gen all over again. And not to be biased, but our Next Gen movement is the most incredible thing. And the reason it is because it's the first time, like Patty said, that our doors are opening up to not just the sons, daughters, and children and families affected by young onset, but to allies, people like yourself and myself and Stephanie and Lakeland and Victoria, those that may not have been directly affected by younger onset dementia, but are here because we are passionate about improving the lives of those affected and want to bring a change to this space. And like Patty said, it is a movement, because a movement isn't built by those just directly affected, but it is by people like you and I getting behind them. It is by society getting behind them and moving this movement forward. It's how we change systems. And at Lorenzo's house, we call these people our allies. I am an ally in this space. And so if you are someone that is passionate about supporting those affected by dementia, has a thirst to learn about how to elevate stories and change policy, and simply to be a better friend to the 16 million family members worldwide navigating young onset dementia, then this movement is a place for you. And there will be a form later on that Victoria, I'm sure, will drop in if this is something that you're interested in. And we say we have one requirement to be an ally, and that is simply to care. And to mention, in next April, which is a really exciting upcoming event. Next April will be our first in-person convening of our Next Gen movement, where we are bringing allies and sons, daughters, and children of young onset dementia around the world to a Alzheimer's Disease International Conference in Lyon in April. And we are going to be changing the face of dementia. So no longer is it just an older person's condition, but we are bringing in family members, we are bringing in passionate allies, and together we will build this movement. So yes, and to transition this, to think about where Next Gen sits, because we have our incredible 3-pillar programs. Well, where does Next Gen sit? It sits within this incredible new platform called our Light Academy. Because as Patty mentioned, right, we're taking all of these incredible learnings from our family members And where can we disseminate them? Where can we gather them, codify them, and disseminate them? And there's no better place than our Light Academy. And it is a virtual learning platform that is evolving. And it consists of 3 learning platforms. Our first is our carers and allies. And this is answering the question that when you become a carer, you don't get a textbook on here's what to do and how to do it. And so often and it's built by our families and for our families. So often they bring up the questions of, well, where are the tips? Where are the resources? And this Carers and Allies pathway is a place to build community and share and disseminate tips and resources. And then our second one is our Next Gen movement that I just spoke about, which unites our sons, daughters, children, and passionate allies to learn to be leaders and change systems in dementia. And then our third is our practitioners pathway. And that is for people like you and I who want to take part in learning modules and learn about younger onset dementia and how you can become younger onset dementia informed. And it is led by lived experience and by our families. So we want to ultimately build a younger onset dementia informed society. So if this interests you as well, I'm sure Victoria will share another link where you can share on how to partner with us and learn more about all of our Next Gen and our Light Academy. Patty, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Grania. I'm so inspired. We just want to close with 8 ways to bring light with Lorenzo's House. And the first one is connect us to sons, daughters, children, and families of younger onset dementia. Our audacious goal is to reach every single family affected by younger onset dementia, and we will greet them at the front virtual doors with so much light and so much love, and every single family matters. So please, if you know any families, connect them with us. The next way to bring light is to collaborate with us. Victoria will be dropping a partnership form in the chat right now. If you would like to get in a Zoom room with us for 30 minutes, we will connect and we will talk about ways that we can bring light together. Every conversation matters. You help to make us so much better and stronger together, partners, experts, new friends. Follow us on social media and expand our reach. It's really how we grow and reach more families. We are on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn at Lorenzo's House. The next form, which is what Grania alluded to, was sign up to be an ally. Allies are so important in our Next Gen movement. We host monthly meetings, bringing together sons, daughters, children, and allies. So join us. Join the movement. The only expectation is that you care. Volunteer with us and be part of the solution. We always are looking for ambassadors to help us move our mission forward, to help us to reach more families. If that's something that you're interested in, please connect with us. Please also consider hosting a screening of our short film. As you saw, it is a powerful tool. It can become this catalyst for conversation and discussion and helps us to dismantle stigma and normalize conversations around brain change. Victoria will drop a link in the chat to sign up for our inspiring newsletter, Light the Way. It gives you a sneak peek into what we do on a quarterly basis and highlights many of our incredible partners, many of our incredible families, many of our incredible connections. And then the last one is to host a youth-led stigma seminar. We are building in collaboration with our young people a youth-led stigma seminar that really helps to dismantle stigma and helps to empower ourselves with a collective toolkit for how we can dismantle stigma in the moment, ultimately creating a more younger onset dementia informed society. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to all of our new friends today. And I'll hand it back over to Victoria and Lakeland.
Thank you so much, Patty. I am always just inspired every time I get to connect with you all and listen to you all. And the resources that Lorenzo's House has is incredible. So I would encourage everyone to visit their website, lorenzoshouse.org, and all the ways that Patty just mentioned of getting connected. If you for some reason can't get to the links that we're posting here, their website is a great resource. Many people in the chat have had some great questions about reducing stigma. How do we get doctors to take people seriously under the age of 65 when these symptoms are presenting? And those are the exact things Lorenzo's House and their team of incredible families and advocates are working on, is to provide that education. So highly encourage you all to check out their site. I have a number of resources also listed here, but as we've been sharing, you can download these slides to get access to all of these resources. Also on the Caregiver Chats podcast, I had Patty and Diana on to talk about this movement that they're creating and the challenges of young onset dementia. So check out the Caregiver Chats podcast. I think it was episode number 47. Was the one that we shared together. So if you want to hear even more about their incredible mission, please check them out and get connected. I think the easiest way is to start following them on social media, because you'll start to regularly see all the great work that they're doing. So I want to thank again, Patty, Grania, and Stephanie for being here today. And thank you, Victoria, for being such a great host as always. And thanks to all of you for joining and learning more about supporting people living with dementia.
Thank you. I echo what you said, Lakeland. I want to thank you, Lakeland, Grania, Stephanie, Patty, and Diana, who showed up in that very empowering video, and to Home Instead and Lorenzo's House for making the session possible. If you'd like to revisit today's content, the recording will be made available in your classroom within 48 hours, along with the slides and the resources that were discussed here. If you're looking for more learning opportunities, don't miss Home Instead's next webinar, The Cost of Care Funding Options for Long-Term Care Needs. That will take place on October 1st. And you can also explore our new On Aging Institute courses on topics like advocacy, AI, digital literacy, finance, and one that I'm really looking forward to is building a culture of inclusion and care, from digital accessibility to organizational change. And that's on October 23rd. And you can find that at asaging.org/courses. I just want to thank you all again for joining us today. This was a really, really great discussion. We hope that you found it useful. Please take care, and we look forward to connecting with you all again soon. Have a great day, everyone.